I had some internet issues there, and Nando's gets another 3-second time penalty. But does not seem to be affecting. That does not seem to have any effect on the race whatsoever just yet. That might all change because the gaps are increasing, but they can also be shrinking throughout the race. A fifth of the way through here in Mexico. You join for the stream part 3. Hopefully of 3. As there goes Liam round spinning, and he's just in front of the pit lane. That's lucky. Now he can pull straight into the pits because the front wing can be very useful around this track. That's going to be unlucky. See, that's a very bad front wing damage. And that means Sonar is very likely to make a pass on Liam. Coming through the final turn, it's going to be close. Liam just having his front wing changed there into another front wing because that is a graphical glitch. And Sonar makes it past, which means Liam is down into the last position, having been overtaken by Wimley. Now crashing. That is heartbreaking. But at least he's not fully out of the race like Harry Blues. Harry Blues is disappointed. He is pitted onto the super softs though, and maybe looking to go far. This is the man currently leading the race, Brumadinho, with a 3.5 second gap to the man behind, who is Jompa Lanen. But anyway, Jompa being quite new to the scene here at F1 League Hub. If anyone wants to know the football score between Colombia and England, 27 minutes in, tune away if you don't want to hear the score. 3, 2, 1. It's no from there because it looks like he's gone straight on and into the steward's post. He's facing the wrong direction. I have no idea what's happened there. Which leaves us with only 5 runners left of the Grand Prix. This is Sonar with 36 seconds to gain. That is Brumadinho entering the pits onto super softs, which is why he's just been overtaken by Jompa. Jompa now in first after qualifying on pole, but he is yet to pit, and that will jumble things up. The current standings, the website has been improved now. For some reason it appears, I see. So in first position in the league standings we have Simpsons Angel with 115 points. And then quite far behind him is Spaghetti with 96 points. Scuderia Seb on 70. Harry Blues on 66, and that's going to stay that way because he is great. But Brumadinho currently will earn 18 points if he finishes the race, which will definitely put him ahead of Harry Blues because he is currently on 61 points. Wimley, if he finishes the race, definitely gain some points, 54 points. Not looking like it's going to be 12. Currently he won't be able to gain 12 points to overtake. Sonar is racing, currently on 32 points ahead of Jompa, which is 2 points ahead of Jompa. But at this rate, Jompa is going to be ahead of him in the league by the end of the race. Liam is on 26 points though, so there's not much between those three, with Nando's on 16, which is 10 points behind Liam. So Nando's just trying to grind and get some points, which is going to be benefited by the fact there's only 5 runners left of the Grand Prix. So as long as he finishes, he is guaranteed the some points, which will definitely help towards his Grand Prix. So you see a bit of a lock on Jompa. The constructors, Ferrari are in first with 185 points, then McLaren are in second with 122, most of which have come from spaghetti chips. Then in third we have Williams with 86, then Mercedes with 69, Renault with 66, Force India with 37, Sauber with 30, Toro Rosso with 16, Red Bull Racing has 10, and Haas has none. But Haas having an absolute race of dreams at the weekend in Austria. It would have been interesting if one of the top three had an issue where they had to retire, because that would have been Haas's first podium. And you can just see a bit more locking up there from Yomba as he tries to trail brake. Will he be entering the pits this lap? No, he won't. Definitely stretching those ultra softs as he is exiting his pit window. It is currently looking that if Yompa was to pit now, he will return in second place. Brumadinho setting the fastest lap with a 1:18.9 there. First vehicle to make it into the 1:18s, I believe, this evening. The only driver yet to pit, I believe, is Yompa, so that should be interesting. So there's a spider crawling on me right now. I just need to sort this out. Oh, it's on my face. That might not be. There's something. Not human. Another lockup there from Yompa. Yompa maybe. Those tyres are getting a bit too warm for him, but it doesn't look like he's got any flat spots as yet. But he's pulling into the pits, and no, he's not. He's not pulled into the pits yet. It's currently lap 12 of 30, lap 13 of 36. Halfway through the Grand Prix. No, not halfway through. What am I on? But he'll definitely need to pit at some point because he's losing time to Brumadinho. Brumadinho gaining time, so maybe those ultra softs are too worn now to continue racing on. Yes, that proves that Yompa is the only one not to have pitted. It looks like Yompa is conserving fuel, so it is likely that he's going to be pitting this lap. He's lost about 2 seconds to Brumadinho so far, which is definitely not good. The gap's increasing or decreasing. Either way you look at it, they are quite large, and that is going to be interesting. If you want to know who I am, I'm Barless. You can hit subscribe to me on YouTube. We're not a very big YouTube, but that is Yompa pulling into the pits, locking up there on the pit entry. But Brumadinho will overtake, but also, is it possible that Yompa will, Nando's will as well, because that's a 1:18.7 there by Brumadinho, so Brumadinho definitely picking up the pace as he goes along. That's a 3-second time penalty for Sonar. And Nando's overtaking as well. So there's Yompa going on to the soft, so Yompa is doing the one stop, which is potentially why he's so slow. Or why he took a long time on those ultra shots, and maybe trying to extend them as much as he could. Because the other drivers may be looking at a 2-stop right now, lap 14 of 36 here in Mexico. 20. That's another 3-second time penalty there for Nando's. And that is Sonar pitting onto softs, potentially having some front wing damage. Just exiting the pits there, so I'm not too sure. And that voicing his opinion is Liam, saying that if only 7 people turn up, really race too long today anyway. That sounded a bit harsh, I'm sorry, but Anyway, we have 11 laps to go then. 21 laps to go. What am I talking about? Approaching the halfway mark here. So there's a big lock up on the front right there of Yompa. Yompa exactly 6 seconds behind Nando's. Time is everything in racing. And that is why I'm always talking about the timings, because that gives me an indicator. As he locks up front left, lots of locking up here, which is potentially causing him lots of tyre wear. This track very smooth and curving. Spaghetti Chips currently not racing, this is in Germany. He's saying we need to change something to try and get everyone to race, because it's a surprising amount of people that can't race. He's saying today is just a one-off for himself, which is true because he normally races every week. Although these occasionally things come up where you just physically are unable to race. It would be unfeasible. Yompa is definitely gaining time on Nando's though, but not too much. At this rate he may be able to catch him by the end of the race. You can see Nando's slightly ahead in the Toro Rosso. Bit of oversteer there on the exit of that turn. Yeah, nice view of the cockpit here, which is interesting because this view may not be available in F1 2018 with the halo potentially in the way, because I quite like that view of the helmet and the a nice good look at the steering wheel, because this view you do get the steering wheel but you can't, it's less of a driver's perspective, if you know what I mean. I quite like that other camera, and you can see the helicopter shot here. Very nice indeed. There are only 2 races left after this race for the drivers to try and round off their championships. So a championship win is definitely out of contention for most of the drivers. It is possible that others may be able to win the championship, I believe, but that is if the top 2, or the driver number 1 who is currently oh, and that is Sonar retiring into the barrier. So there's only 4 runners left in the Grand Prix. So this track with relatively close barriers is appearing to be very difficult for the drivers to navigate this evening. Maybe it's the traction control being disallowed, causing them to not quite have the amount of control or grip that they would usually have. So that's a yellow in Sector 2 and Sector 3 as the marshals clear away the carcass of Sonar's vehicle. He may be disappointed with that. It is currently 20-8 UK time and we are halfway through the race. As we follow the race leader, Yompa gaining some time, but it doesn't look like it will be enough time on Nando's. Now it's just a battle for podium positions. Women are the only one currently not to get a podium, but that might all change if another person crashes. But it is quite ridiculous to have so little drivers racing, so we need more people to join the league. The more the merrier. So if you want to share the f1leaguehub.com with your friends, with those who you know want a league, every Tuesday 7 PM UK time. Yompa is the one to watch though, because he's definitely gaining time on that Toro Rosso. We have different people, and that's another 3-second time penalty for Nando's. So at this rate, Yompa is probably ahead of Nando's with all these time penalties. Let's take this brief lapse in so we have 3, 6, 9, 12, oh no, 12, 15 seconds of penalties for the Toro Rosso of Nando's, with Sonar also having a 3-second time penalty. I meant Nando's having, no. Sorry, I've just confused myself extraordinarily. I'm really tired, so. Nando's has 12 or 15 seconds of time penalty, with Sonar, who is out of the race. Wembley, it's looking increasingly more unlikely that a podium position is within reach for him. We have 16 laps after the Grand Prix. Sonar leaving the session. On the group chat, we are currently discussing how we can entice more people to race. Although Wembley now, after Nando's pitting, is only 5 seconds behind. So Yompa going long, that may benefit him a lot, because he's within a pit stop range now of Brumadinho, and Brumadinho is currently looking like he's on the 2-stop strategy, which is interesting. See a bit of fluff fly up the screen there. This is quite a downforce heavy circuit, but as it is of such high altitude, the cars may run very steep wings, which is very hard to find the right balance around this circuit. Each driver with a different style of racing, having different setups, and just finding the perfect setup, so to say. That's another 3-second time penalty for Nando's. So at this rate, Wembley may be on the podium, or soon will be, if Nando's keeps receiving all these penalties. And it's very likely just because Nando's is going wide, because there's a lot of runoff on this track. As much as I say the barriers are closed, but there's still lots of areas to go wide, because there's no grass or gravel to stop you, very much like the Circuit Paul Ricard. Which will be interesting to see how the new game that comes out this summer will it be for those playing on, will be for those drivers on console, because we already see that on console there's a lot more overtaking than normal, and there seems to be quite a bit of overtaking at Paul Ricard, and everyone expecting it to be a very boring race, a lot less boring than it was expected to be, which is quite interesting. And also Austria was a very, from what I've heard, was a very good race indeed. $14 laps to go here in Mexico City. I believe the Grand Prix is held in Mexico City. I'm not sure how recently this news came out, but they're deciding to host a World Endurance Championship esports. Just see Nando's going slightly wide there, not being penalised for it. But they're bringing out esports for the World Endurance Championship, but they're doing it on Forza. And I'm not trying to say Forza's a bad game, but lots of gamers have voiced their opinions on this decision as being a bad one, because they feel Forza is too arcadey to be a realistic version, as we see Nando's just clipping the barrier there. And that is Nando's the Destroyer out of the race, which means there are only 3 drivers left here in Mexico. More than half of the drivers not finishing. That is very unlucky, and that means all the drivers left have a podium, and they just need to remain consistent. And not do what the bottom 4 have already done, and just not get hot-headed, just to remain calm. There is Brumadinho making a second pit, so will Yompa be able to overtake him? And it looks like he will. But the softs being a harder compound, will he have the pace ahead of Brumadinho to stay ahead of Brumadinho? This may get interesting towards the end of the Grand Prix, but Wimley is also pitting, I believe. The gap now is only 5 seconds to Brumadinho. And I believe that was a time penalty, sorry, I just missed that. I was a bit busy. Not concentrating, sorry. So stop go, so that's a 5-second penalty for Wimley. That's not really going to affect the racer, because Wimley has a long way to go if he wants to gain some time on Brumadinho. But this is the real battle. Brumadinho just entering the stadium section now, but Yompa will be exiting it very shortly. So will Brumadinho be able to gain time by the end of the race to make the overtake? All shall be answered within the next 11 laps. Just 3 runners left of this Grand Prix. This is quite disappointing, to be honest. The fact that there are only 3 drivers left is sad. So we need as many people to race in the coming season as possible. We see a bit of dust coming through there. The gap definitely is shrinking between Brumadinho and Wimley, as Nando's says in the group chat that he is adding to the cast, which is definitely true, and unlucky for himself as well, as Brumadinho says another. And that is a 3-second time penalty for Yompa, which will be interesting because that means Brumadinho is currently ahead of Yompa in the race then, and Yompa will need Brumadinho to get a time penalty if he wishes to remain on top for the rest of the Grand Prix. Yompa is also in lean mix, which is going to spice things up a bit, because Brumadinho is currently in standard mix, which means he is faster revving, or higher revving, which means he has more power. I watched a video earlier about torque, so I can explain that if you wish. Torque is it's complicated. The video was 10 minutes, and there's no way I can explain it in 10 minutes. It basically translates to power. If you multiply it by time, torque times time equals horsepower. Or something similar to that. And these hybrid cars have instant torque, which means they can rev the engine instantly because there's no lag with electricity. It's instant. As the gap between Wimbley and Brumadinho increases to a minute. The gap between Yompa and Brumadinho is under 2 seconds by the end of the race. Will that be under a second, or will the positions have switched completely? We'll see as we are in the lap 28 of 36 this evening. Brumadinho not having any penalties, so that means that Brumadinho is technically ahead of Yompa. So Brumadinho just has to avoid the back, destroying his front wing on the back of that car. But now Yompa's jumped up into rich mix on the straight. It's time for him to really haul ass and bring this race home. He needs to increase the gap though, but that may be quite difficult. Either way, every single runner left in the race is bound to have a podium, and it's nice to see that with such few race drivers left at the Grand Prix, we can still have a race, or at least a battle that occurs during the closing stages, because in real life, towards the closing stages, the gaps just get bigger and bigger, but right now they are shrinking and shrinking. And Brumadinho is currently going to, on the form to win the Grand Prix, is going to have the DRS, not going to have the DRS available. Or maybe will. Sorry about that, I've got a bit of a toothy throat. But anyway, lap 29 of 36 here, lots of smoke from the lock-up there over Yompa. Yompa seeming to lock up a lot around this circuit. Maybe still learning anti-lock brake assist, or not using it, and you can see a bit more dust floating across the screen there. It is 5 to 8 UK time, and we're approaching Yompa through that braking section. And you can see just how close to the rear of that Sauber he is, and he's going to have the slipstream and the DRS and rich mix available to him on the straights. But it's not looking like he's got the speed. Maybe he's running higher downforce than Yompa. He's going to take a look down the outside, which is going to translate to the inside for the next spot. But then Yompa's going to have the outside. But it looks like he's made the overtake stuck, and yes, stick, and yes he has. And that is Yompa watching first place being taken away from him, and then proceeding to race off into the distance and getting a heavy lock up there. Maybe still trying to work on the ABS assist, Yompa. Appearing to lock up into every corner. As long as it's not a heavy lock up and making big flat spots, but the more you lock up, the more likely you are to lock up again. So it really is crucial to avoid locking up in the first place in Formula 1 cars and racing in general. Because under braking, the car will go on to the wheel tyre will go onto the flat spot and continue to brake and make that flat spot even wider. And you can just see how much locking up is occurring for him here. Wumlu in a race of his own though, not too much going on. I'm sure that if anyone paid to go and watch this race in real life, they would be severely disappointed, like that race, like that famed US Grand Prix where only 6 cars started, which is slightly less than this, but I'm sure more finished. We're only 5 laps to go. We are currently 6/7 of the way or 5/6 of the way through the Grand Prix. Only 1/6 to go. Bit more locking up there from Jumper. Jumper will need to work on his locking up and braking in general, because that is not helping him in any way to try and keep those soft tyres lasting to the end of the Grand Prix. No idea how worn they are, but it's probably quite a lot. And I have only just got the notification from YouTube that the stream has started, which is relatively strange. Heading into lap 32 then. Sorry for my cold. The number 13 of Jumper looking to finish the race in second position. He's really 5.3 seconds behind Brumadinho because of that 3-second time penalty. And it's looking like this will be the order of the end of the Grand Prix, and you can see just smoke pouring out from those front tyres. He just can't stop locking them up. Definitely will need to work on that. But there are only 2 races of the season after this one. I'm not entirely sure which ones they are. I may be able to tell you though. I shall see. I do not have that picture currently available. Lap 33 of 36, just 4 laps to go. And we shall have a look at the man currently on track to win the Grand Prix here in Mexico. It just needs to be worried. And Wimlu is soon to get lapped. Unless he can just avoid that till the end of the Grand Prix. Do these last few laps would be helpful for himself. Harry Blues is the first to fall. Then Liam, then Sonar, I believe, after not even being able to set a qualifying time. Then Nando's is the most recent runner to stop running. And now we have very few drivers left of the race. Lap 34 of 36, just 3 laps to go. And it looks like we have the final order all worked out. Jumper receiving another 3-second time penalty. So that means his gap is really 9.8 seconds. Wimley getting ever closer to being lapped. The gap between Brumadinho and himself only looking to be about 5 seconds. This Grand Prix though, few to start, even fewer to finish. Less than half of the drivers left are going to finish, as we are in the second last lap of the Grand Prix. Happy birthday to Sebastian Vettel, and happy birthday to Daniel Ricciardo for Sunday. And happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is now or ever. Don't forget, if you're interested in joining F1 League Hub, sign up on the website f1leaguehub.com. And you just need to be relatively fast on F1 2017. You need to have it on PS4 every Tuesday at 7 PM at UK time, which is 8 PM European time for those in France, Germany, Netherlands, and the like. As we follow on board Brumadinho, who has currently lapped Wimelu for the final lap of the Grand Prix, which we're going to ride on board. See the broadcasting helicopter flying above the circuit. Very long straight here. They're coming through this lap for the final time this evening, after a long-winded and not too exciting Grand Prix. We shall end up with all the finishers on the podium, which is not something you really want to hear. But yes, see, lots of this track is runoff area, and the bits that aren't unlikely places for you to run off. And you can see the brake marker boards as we head into stadium, where I believe the podium is for the final time. You can see the Mexican flag being shown on being produced by confetti, coming around the final time for the last time, and Brumadinho takes the win at Mexico here for season 2 of Formula 1 League Hub, or F1 League Hub. Celebrating, that was a long win. Just being able to overtake Yompa on the last few laps was critical to him winning the Grand Prix. And the end of the race, Brumadinho, Yompa and Wimley were the only finishers, with the Toro Rosso, a Williams, a McLaren and a Renault all not finishing. So that's quite a colourful grid, and you can see that Sonar would have had 18 seconds of penalty. That's 25 points to Brumadinho, 18 points to Yompa and 15 to Wimley. And that is the end of the Grand Prix. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Goodbye.